Hey there, my friends. My name is Craig Howard with Happy Camper RV. Today I was going to do a list of like 10 misconceptions, questions that people often have about buying RVs who are new to RVing, who don't know a lot about the RV world. And you know what? As I was writing this down, I came up with 8 good ideas, and I didn't want to give you 2 fluffy ones, so we're going to do 8 things. These are like really common misconceptions or questions that people don't really understand about coming into the RV world. So I don't have them, I didn't spend much time putting these in order, just kind of as I thought of them, writing them down. And so let's just go down this list. So number 1, and this is a very common one, buying an RV is not the same as buying a car. And what I mean by that is typically when you go to buy a car, you know, you're at the dealership for 2 or 3, hopefully not much longer than that, 4 hours. That'd be terrible. One of the things we take pride in is not wasting your time like some people do. But you're at the dealership buying a car, you find one you like, test drive it, you decide you want to move forward, paperwork, blah, 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 and 2 or 3 hours later, you're driving away with the car. That is not how RVs work. So all of the RVs that we have, we've got these out here on display in our lot. We've got a big lot in the back where we keep overstock. Wherever they're at, even the ones that are on the showroom, are not ready to go home today. We consider our service department the final step of manufacturing, and it's really kind of a quality control step. So what we do when somebody decides that they want to move forward and buy an RV, what we'll do is schedule for them to come back 2 or 3 or 4 days later, because once they've picked out exact one they want, we're going to send it through our service department. It's going to get what we call a PDI, which means pre-delivery inspection, and they've got a big long checklist of things that they're checking on the trailer, everything from the hitch up front, the spare tire in the back, everything in the middle, the gas system, the electrical system, the water system. They're looking at quality things like trim pieces, all kinds of stuff like that. The goal is to make the camper look the way that it does in the brochure and on the internet, and more importantly than that, to make sure that it functions properly, and more importantly than that, to make sure it's safe. So we're going to check the brakes on the trailer, the lights, the gas is a huge part of that safety check. So stuff like that. Once it's done with what we call the PDI, then we send it off to our cleaning department. They're going to get it all cleaned up for you. And then once that's all done, it's been 2 or 3 days, whatever we figure out for scheduling, we have you come back to the dealership and we do a really cool orientation. It's all about the customers, teach you how every switch and knob and dial and button on the camper works. Our goal at Happy Camper, sometimes we say that if you've got groceries and clothes with you, you can go camping right from here. Our goal is that you're comfortable, you know how things work, you're ready to go camping when you pull off our lot. I've worked with a lot of other dealerships. I know a lot of people at other places all across the country, and that's a pretty common way that RV dealerships work. So number 1, the RV is not ready to go home today. One of the most common misconceptions that people have who are new to the RV world. Let's see, number 2. Okay, so this is another huge one. Like, people will say cash is king, or what's the cash price, blah, 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 any kind of twist on that. This one, contrary to the first idea, this applies to cars, tractors, motorcycles, whatever you're buying at a dealership. Cash is never king. Dealerships usually get a back-end rebate from banks when they send business to the banks, and it's easier for the customer, for the dealership, and for the bank. So they almost always incentivize that with a better rate than you could ever get just walking into your local bank or credit union. It's not huge, the difference, the improvement on that financing rate, but it's not insignificant. But the bigger point here is that cash isn't king. One of my good friends that I work with here has been in sales for a long, long time. He kind of came up in the car world, and he was telling us all just the other day, that really originated a long time ago when people were trying to hide money. So if you're dealing with somebody that would give you a better deal on, paying cash, they might be up to something shady. Our business really takes pride in just giving you the best deal that we possibly can, whether you're paying cash or financing it. You know, there's a lot of people that might play games with that. We're just going to give you the best deal that we possibly can either way. It definitely helps us out if you finance it, because we're going to get, you know, a rebate from the banks on the back end there. We can probably get you a better rate. I mean, it would be a weird situation if we couldn't get you a better rate. But the bigger point is cash is usually not king. Number 3, this one I hear almost daily, folks asking if an RV is 4-season. There's like 1 or 2 manufacturers out there that call RVs 4-season. And there's a couple of oddball ones, some like really, and I shouldn't say oddball, but like really specialty manufacturers that make a 4-season camper. We've got a cool location closer to Boise that just does kind of specialty overlanding rugged stuff. And one of the lines that they carry is this cool trailer that's rated to it's like 20 degrees below zero, something like that, and to be able to use water at that temperature. But that is by far the exception to the rule. RVs, the real fact is RVs are nothing like a home that's built on a foundation. Right now I'm sitting in a Riverstone fifth wheel. This is arguably the highest quality, best designed and built fifth wheel camper RV in the world. They've got the thickest walls. This thing is still not 4-season. So you'll see on a lot of campers, they'll have different things that they call it. Some people call it extended season or climate protection or cold weather package, stuff like that. But there's, except for a few weird exceptions, I shouldn't say weird, but except for a few exceptions, there's not really a 4-season RV out there. Let's see. Okay, here's another one that we hear all the time. Number 4, and phrase this however you want. It's questions about solar. People will ask, does this RV have solar? What will the solar power? Will the solar power my AC? Will it power my microwave? Will it power my outlets? Let me tell you what solar does for you. 99% of the time on an RV, the solar is routed to a controller, and then from there it's routed to your batteries on the RV. So it's functioning like a battery tender. Maybe you're into some kind of power sports or boating. In the off season, you might have those stored in your garage and plugged into a battery tender to just maintain the battery. That's kind of how solar works. Or maybe saying trickle charge might be another way to say that. So the solar is maintaining your batteries. So solar typically isn't powering anything directly. If you have solar panels on your camper, that's very cool. It can really extend the time that you could go out camping, but it's only doing that by maintaining your batteries. Okay, here's another one, almost a daily thing. People ask, do I need sway bars? Or people will refer to sway bars. And 99% of the time when they're talking about sway bars, what they're referring to is a weight distribution hitch. So what this is you've probably seen it before, where the trailer hitches up to the tow vehicle. You'll see these long bars, maybe about 2.5, 3 feet long, and they're connected on one end, on the vehicle end, to the hitch, the other end on the A-frame portion of the trailer. What it does is it's designed to, imagine as you hook up, this is your tow vehicle, this is your trailer, and it's kind of heavy, you hook up and it sags down like this. The weight distribution hitch, which people often refer to as sway bars, people that just don't know yet, they've never owned one, they've never asked the question, but it's actually a weight distribution hitch. If your rig is like this, the weight distribution is going to fight that effect and help you to be more level. Hopefully you can get it just right where it's sitting level. But that's what you're seeing, what people often refer to as sway bars. Now you can get weight distribution hitches that have sway control built into them. There's some, even the most basic ones, you can add a little thing on the side and it uses friction and it helps you control sway. There's fancier ones that just right in the main mechanism, the bars that you see, they have the sway control built into there. There's about, I always tell people when they ask about weight distribution hitches or when they ask about sway bars, how much do they cost? I tell them you can spend anywhere from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000, and there's probably 40 options in between. So there's a whole bunch out there. You can get super fancy ones, you can get really basic ones, but what they're trying to do is distribute the weight of the tongue weight of the trailer a little bit further back on the trailer so that you get less of this sag on your tow vehicle. And ultimately that's going to give you a safer ride. If you've got a lot of tongue weight on your tow vehicle and it's causing the nose of your tow vehicle to go up like this, you start losing braking and steering authority, and you could get in a dangerous situation that way. Let's see. Okay, here's another one that people may not understand, and this is really common with small trailers, but at least here in Idaho, the state law says that any trailer that has trailer brakes on it, the tow vehicle must have a brake controller in it. I'm not actually super familiar with this across other states, but I would suspect that it's very similar to that. And I say that this is common with small trailers because, you know, people maybe would assume that if we're buying a really small tent trailer that only weighs, you know, 1,400 pounds, something like that, and we've got a very adequate tow vehicle, that the tow vehicle is just fine to handle all the braking, the trailer doesn't need brakes. That's not true. The trailer brakes are there for a reason. They make you safer, they make your less wear and tear on your vehicle, they make the ride more comfortable. So pretty much just plan on any RV, your tow vehicle is going to need a brake controller to tow that RV. And real quick, what a brake controller does for you, it's basically kind of like a brain that syncs up the braking that you're doing with your vehicle with the RV. If you didn't have the brake controller, but somehow that braking system was still working, you'd push just a little bit on your brake pedal in the tow vehicle, and it would just lock up the trailer brakes. So the brake controller modulates that, and you can kind of customize it to your tow vehicle and your rig that you're towing, and you can get it set up. When you get it tuned just right, it's applying the same amount of braking that your tow vehicle is. And I kind of explain it to people that when it's done correctly, the trailer kind of takes care of its own weight. It will do most of the braking of itself, of its own weight by itself. And so that's the importance of a brake controller. But I got to tell you, every RV, if you're going to pull an RV, every tow vehicle that's pulling one needs a brake controller. It's not like something, if I've got a big 1-ton truck and I've got a really teeny trailer, I'll be okay. You still need a brake controller. Luckily, most 1-tons have a brake control installed from the factory, but that's not common. And actually, let me double back a little bit. Another kind of misconception that we have a lot with this is a lot of newer vehicles will have like a tow haul mode, and people will think that has something to do with the brakes, and it really doesn't. What that really is doing is it's changing the way that your transmission shifts. So it's allowing your transmission to rev higher because it knows that you've got a load behind you. So that's not the same thing as a brake controller. Here's an interesting thing. If you're new to RVs, if you don't know a lot about them, there's a lot of what we call sister brands in the RV world. So there's only a couple of big top level companies that own underneath, you know, there's 3 or 4 companies that are trailer manufacturers. Underneath them, there's like 40 or 50 different brands underneath, let's say Forest River or Heartland or Jayco or Thor. Underneath each of those companies, there are a multitude of different brands. And within those brands, we find what we call sisters. So, like for instance, at our dealership, we're a Flagstaff dealer. The sister brand to Flagstaff is called Rockwood. We also sell Stealth toy haulers, and Stealth has actually got 2 sisters. They've got Shockwave and Sandstorm. But what I mean by sisters is those brands, those sister brands, are in essence identical to their sister, and they'll put different decals and a different name on it. Sometimes they've got different model names. Sometimes they've got the exact same model names. Like in the Flagstaff/Rockwood line, there's E-Pro and Geo-Pro. So the brand is a different name, but all the models have the exact same name. And really the only difference is the graphics that we see on the outside. So sister brands in the RV world, kind of a weird thing that people probably don't know about. I used to describe it to people that it was kind of like Chevy and GMC, but actually between Chevy and GMC there are some differences, and so it's not even a perfect analogy because most of the time the sister brands in the RV world are identical in every way except for name and sometimes colors. Okay, last one that I came up with on my list. This is number 8. Everything in RVing is a compromise. Kind of the best example for this is a lot of people want double axles in trailers. A lot of people do. And a lot of people want small trailers. So we'll have people all the time come in and say, you know, I'm looking for an 18 to 20 foot trailer with double axles so it tows good. And they don't typically put double axles on a trailer that small. That's just kind of a small example. I guess the biggest example of everything's a compromise in RVs is the way that the space is laid out. Oftentimes people will come in, like I'm in a fifth wheel right here, and right behind the camera there's a big slide out and there's a TV and a fireplace under that and a whole bunch of storage behind the TV and fireplace. And so a lot of times in an RV like this, people will ask, why doesn't it have an outdoor kitchen? Well, they've utilized that space on the inside. Instead of giving you an outdoor storage / outdoor kitchen, we've got indoor stuff. So the way that space is laid out is kind of what I mean by everything's a compromise. But there's a lot of ways that you could use that analogy in the RV world. There's a lot of compromises to be made. We usually tell people when you're looking for an RV, if you can check 6 or 7 or 8 boxes off your list of things that you want, that's pretty good, because we often come in with a big long list of things that we want, and usually there's things that cancel each other out. We just can't have it all in an RV. These toys are super cool. They allow us to take a lot of the comforts of home away from home, but because of that we have to compromise. So a couple of ideas for you here, some thoughts that maybe you've never had, some info from somebody that works in the industry. I hope this was useful for you. Please let me know, excuse me there, if you have some questions, if you think, boy, there's something that he didn't even hit on, let me know. We can talk more about it. But these are just things that I see almost on a daily basis, and I thought maybe it'd be helpful for somebody to put that out there. I hope it was for you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.